It's Spoilerin time. This is the show that goes with Cordkillers. If you watch or listen to Cordkillers, you get all the information about how to watch things, and then you watch them, right? And you come over here and we talk about them spoil style, because you can't properly talk about a show without spoiling it. This week, we're talking about Barry, Season 3, Episode 2, Better Call Saul, Season 6, Episode 3, Moon Knight, Season 1, Episode 5, and Picard, Season 2, Episode 9. I'm Tom Merritt. He's Brian Brushwood.
Heck yeah, dude. Where are we starting first?
Let's start with Picard, Season 2, Episode 9, where I did see the hint of an outline of a season arc starting to form. We didn't get a whole lot of Q, but we got a little bit of Q. We got the Borg Queen in Agnes finally come back in touch. Everybody converged on the spaceship outside the Chateau Picard. We got a lot more flashback than I really still felt necessary, but at least we wrapped up what happened with his mom, which was, at least for me, singularly unsurprising. And then we set up for a final battle.
Tom, it's a miracle anything ever gets made ever. It's a miracle that Picard exists. How delightful for people who loved Star Trek: The Next Generation. There's only one part that, my goodness, was there a lot of setup to the fact that Picard's mom hung herself? Okay.
It's a valid plot point. I personally, and again, I don't get to do this. I'm not good enough to, Hollywood has not deemed me good enough to go run a show. I wouldn't have spent as much time on it unless I was going to have it surprise me.
Oh boy.
Unless there was going to be something in there that I didn't expect.
They definitely spent.
You could just tell me, yes, my mom hung herself here. And I would get everything I needed to know about his backstory from that.
Yeah. Maybe 8 full episodes of foreshadowing leading up to, oh, by the way, your favorite character from hundreds of Star Trek adventures has blocked out the memory of his mom committing suicide and just now realized it now that he's in an android's body at his home.
Yeah, I mean, when you're saying it on paper, I can be like, oh, right, he blocked it out. So you wanted to have flashes of something horrible, but it's almost like they gave us too much. It should have just been glimpses and flashes, and then like a brief, I remember, like quick, this is what happened, versus the whole, like, let's go play in the tunnels. I don't know. That didn't work for me.
Yeah, it didn't land with me either. Tom, I think it's fair to say that the last few episodes have not landed with me. I haven't cared for Crazy Soong. I haven't cared for Forgetful Picard. I haven't cared for non-existent Q.
I'm interested in Agnes. Are you interested in Agnes? That's the only thing that's given me like, okay, that's kind of interesting.
Do you know who I'm more interested in is holographic combat hologram.
Oh, yeah, that was kind of fun.
Right?
I mean, I rolled my eyes a little bit of like, oh, you want to bring back a character, make him into a hologram. I guess holograms can be anything. It's not just a medical doctor. But in the end, I was like, this is fun. This is a good time.
Not only that, but he gave substantive feedback where he's like, hey, yeah, I've got his memories. I could tell you he was not angry. He was thrilled and loved you a lot. Bye.
Yeah. No,
it's me, cool. A ghost who fights.
I thought it was a little, again, not unexpected that we see the guy whose ship it is. What you
Rios?
Just said his name, Rios. Why do I can't remember Rios?
This is my one job on the show, is to remind you that the guy's name is Rios.
His name is Rios, and he dances on the sand. Maybe I'll remember now. So when Rios got sent away because, he won't help us if he's here, I'm like, oh, so he's going to totally come back and save the day, which he did. But I also liked Rios's side story. I like him and the doctor and the child and all of that. So I was into that. But yeah, overall, I actually preferred season 1 because it took twists and turns. It was in space, and there were more surprise characters showing up. Whereas this year feels like it's really on rails.
And I understand that we're gearing up for a big whiplash of a last episode, and I'm down for it. But this episode more than most felt like just sort of now turn around in circles, a whole bunch. Okay, now let's go.
Maybe they had 6 episodes and turned it into 10. Maybe it's as simple as that.
Maybe. I didn't hate it, but I could really tell, like about 15 minutes in, I was like, oh, we're not doing anything here. Okay.
I have good news for you, Brian.
Yeah.
The finale is next week.
We did
it. So there you go. That's Picard season 2, episode 9. We are also taking a quick look at Moon Knight, season 1, episode 5. Was it a hippo?
Bryce,
yeah, it was
as our number 1 fan of Moon Knight, how did you feel about this one?
The hippo was the god of the underworld, right?
Yeah. She was like ferrying you. It was her ship in the underworld, and
she takes you to where you're going, or you get tossed over the board to hell.
Tossed. You know, you said this at the beginning of the season, Brian. It was either you or maybe it was Tom. And that they would kill off Steven Gift Shop, and they did it. Okay. I'm sorry. Like, we don't like you. We want to make.
Did they though? Because I kind of don't believe it.
And it's probably not even dead. Actually, no, you're right.
I don't even believe it. Like they did the thing, and I still don't believe it.
I mean, okay. So the last episode and all of this episode were basically a dream in
also
the Egyptian
dead,
afterlife.
But like nobody believes they're dead, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, what is so crazy about this story to me is there's so many interesting concepts you could do of like a superhero who has multiple personas or some version of DID, but like you just made up a little guy and then killed him and acted like I was supposed to care that he's in the sand.
I actually liked the backstory more than the front story in this one. I actually really liked, I'll take that back. I really liked the device. I liked the ship and the way it looked and the idea that it's like, this is how this version of the underworld works. So you got to figure out your balance before you get there. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm kind of more into the hallucination part of this now that I know it matters, right? They've got to discover something. And so when they were touring back through the memories and discovering that Steven was created as a way to deal, I was like, all right, that's interesting. That's an interesting explanation of him. So in some ways, this may be my second favorite episode of Moon Knight.
I actually really loved the idea that this is an unpopular version of the afterlife, where in a universe where you go to whatever afterlife you belong in, and it's like, oh, we don't get many of you. This is weird.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, right?
It's just going to be weird. Some theism is actually correct in the Marvel universe. There's just like some of the gods are actually... I don't know. I'm waiting for the next Marvel with Jesus of Nazareth in it because it's exactly what they did this time.
But in this case, what was the phrase they used? Untethered entities, I think is what they said. But whatever it was just the right amount of science-y sounding jargon where I bought it. Like, oh, you're a soul that doesn't have a home. So
Steven is going to come back from the sand.
They're going to have perfect balance between each other.
And they're going to save him at the last moment.
No, he turned to sand, Tom. I don't know where you got that idea.
You can't turn an imaginary person into sand.
Yeah.
But he did have a second. Why did he have a second heart? Why did he have a second soul?
No. Because he had two halves to himself. He had two entities. But
one of them's made up. That's a good point. It's not an actual soul then. Shouldn't it just show up as made up?
Yeah, I feel like they did a very bad job.
What they're doing is saying Steven became real over the course of it.
Oh my God.
I'm trying real hard to advocate on behalf of the show, guys, and you're not helping me. I feel like I'm alone. That's all right.
I thought the hippo stuff was neat. I wish we had more time in the mental hospital stuff because that was all right.
It was pretty cool, right?
That was all right. But
Oh no.
If you're gonna have if your guy's gonna be doing Severance, can you do some of the Severance stuff? Can you wonder what's it like being a personality or something?
I am so uncomfortable with trying to take on the Tom role, and even Tom is not willing to take on the Tom role.
It's so freeing. You don't even know.
Like I'm trying to defend it.
You know what? It's fine. It's fine. I don't hate it. You know what? I don't hate it.
I don't hate it either. I actually enjoyed this episode. Like I said, it's my second favorite Moon Knight episode. There was some good stuff in it.
Yeah.
You got anything else, Brian?
Sure. I liked how much it looked like our flag means death.
It did.
Yes.
It did.
Agreed.
It reminded me a lot of that.
And you know what? Like I like the ending of this episode where he's just thrown into the field of reeds. I actually think that's like one thing they know how to do is set up a cliffhanger.
That's good. Yeah, because it's like here you got the good ending and it doesn't feel good because it's not the ending you want.
And we do still have to save the day.
All right, that is Moon Knight season 1, episode 5. Let's talk about Better Call Saul season 6, episode 3. How are we feeling about Better Call Saul, Brian?
Wow.
Yeah, right.
Let's go right to Nacho. We got the end of Nacho's run and then the end of Nacho. And a setup that led you to think that Mike was going to kill Nacho, and Nacho said, "No, I'll take care of it myself."
Yes, all of that, but also, why did Nacho feel so much loyalty to kill himself for Gus?
It was for Mike. He knew Mike was going to protect his dad.
Yeah. I guess that's it.
He did it. He certainly did it all to protect his dad. That's the blanket reason. I also think that him killing himself leaves doubts. I read something online that they mentioned Alvarez. Alvarez was the one paying Nacho, and so everybody went looking for Alvarez, and there's never been another mention of Alvarez in Breaking Bad.
Alvarez is not the nerdy guy.
It was the fall guy that Nacho was going to blame it on.
Yeah, and there is apparently no Alvarez. So Gus was trying to blame someone who didn't exist, so they couldn't trace it back. The theory goes that Nacho kills himself because that leaves the Salamancas feeling as if they have not properly taken revenge because they didn't execute him. And that is shown when Hector Salamanca comes up and shoots a bunch of bullets into the already dead body of Nacho, which, again, if you believe this theory, the theory goes Nacho knew that would keep their anger at Gus alive and therefore get back at Gus.
Oh. Interesting.
Because we know Gus is gonna live at the end of this show, and he's got
right, but also that Hector gets his revenge, which is wild because I've spent a lot of this series not being a fan of Hector, and being pro Gus, and it's hard for me to remember that in the previous show, I was very happy to see Gus get taken down by Hector.
Before we jump off this, Jackie Hearn also reminds us that his father is still in town or hasn't used his new identity yet.
Yep.
And so that's why he took the ID out of the safe, which explains why.
That's why Mike did that. Yeah. Right. And I imagine Mike is going to try to convince Manuel which is Nacho's dad, to get out of town, to get out of Dodge. And may or may not happen, and Nacho may have not saved his dad.
Michael Mondo is a fantastic actor. He's very, very good in this series, and he's good in most of the things I've ever seen him in. How about super dark Kim Wexler?
Oh, so it's getting juicy.
It's like I think if I remember correctly, a few years back we were kind of smelling this coming. Like she's going to be the one trying to dragging Jimmy down, right?
I love the plot line of we need Jimmy. We don't believe Jimmy necessarily did this malicious. He might have been fooled, but no matter what, if he aids us now, that will be good for him. Kim, you can talk to him. And Kim's like, yep, sure, yep. Very Kim Wexler in the meeting about it. But little Tell says Saul Goodman. He practices under the name Saul Goodman.
Right.
Makes a point of that. Even when it wasn't really important to make a point of that. But then tells Jimmy, you can decide whether you want to work for the mafia or be a rat. You want to be a friend of the cartel or you want to be a rat?
You want to be a dirty thieving rat or do you want to be a friend of the cartel?
Choice is pretty clear, Jimmy.
So good.
It's really good. Also, Eileen pointed out to me, because she had just finished watching last season, that in the beginning of episode 1, when you're seeing all the stuff in the house, you see an item that Kim has in season 5. So there is something of Kim's in that house that they were going through.
Is that the
more than the bottle
stopper? Or?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Interesting. And we also got some like heisty bits with the key fob and the valet thing. Like we're kind of running out of reasons to do heisty stuff, and it was fun to see.
It is kind of double fun to see retro heisty stuff, where it takes longer to hit 4 to unlock, 5 to lock. It's like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the race against time with the valet realizing, or I guess Howard leaving early. That was fun. I liked why do you do this, man?
Yeah. Just if I ain't said it enough, Michael Mondo is a fantastic actor. He's great.
Mm-hmm. What did
you guys see him in Orphan Black?
I did, and I hated him, but I loved him in Far Cry 3, and I loved him in Better Call Saul.
What did you guys think about the intro with the blue flower and the shard of glass, which I believe is meant to be the spot where Ignacio dies at the end?
Yeah.
Because the glass shard is there. But what did you guys think about that? Because that was it was visually pleasing the way that Better Call Saul stuff is, but I didn't feel like I got much out of it other than this is an important place.
Oh yeah, that was scene setting, emotion tuning before the show. It was not a plot point. That's how I took it anyway.
There's also a richness to the visual and audio, like even the Foley work, like the pitter patter of the rain and so on. Yeah. It's I don't know how to describe it. I guess it's just a matter of it's sensual, for lack of a better word.
Yeah. Great stuff.
It's going to be hard to see this show go. This is a pretty good show.
Isn't that crazy how this show went from like, well, I'm interested in it because I liked Breaking Bad, and I guess it's kind of got some interesting stuff, to just stand by now. They paid off. All their hard work paid off, and it stands on its own.
Yeah.
That's Better Call Saul, season 6, episode 3. All right, let's talk about Barry, season 3, episode 2. The main through line here is Barry has thrown Cousineau in his trunk and is driving him around trying to get him an acting job, because Barry feels like that's the only way that he'll be able to feel like Cousineau won't turn him in, is if he gets him in his debt by restarting what is a very dead acting career. And that's emphasized multiple times, where people are like, no, he'll never work in this town again. Also, we see a reflection with his girlfriend where he is verbally abusive to her, and she reacts in the way that she is writing her stories about, by trying to please him. But he doesn't end up coming home, except to tell her on the phone that he got an acting job when he was going around trying to get Cousineau an acting job. And then there's some farce of him chasing him around. There's also a side story where NoHo Hank gets warned by Barry to get out. Or is it by Barry?
No. Cristobal.
Cristobal. Warns him to get out because Cristobal and Hank have a thing. But Cristobal's family has come and are taking him away. And so that's the end of that romance, at least. It looks that way for now.
The most significant aspect is we have a dark coded character in the assassin of Barry at the beginning with the opportunity to move to the light of acting of all things. And I guess season 3 is the reverse of that. We have him like being drawn to the darkness of abusing the fawns. I don't know. I don't know how I feel.
Well, let me tell you how I took it. I don't know if this will make any difference to you. Barry has been fighting against his nature. It's his nature to kill. And whether that's because that's who he is, or it's because of the trauma of his service, or if it's habit, that's up for debate. But he is a killer. And at this point, he's not sure if he can never not be a killer. His way of dealing with Kuzuno is based on how he knows how to deal with things, which is, well, crap, when this happens, here's what you do. You kill them. But he feels like he's doing better because he's not killing Kuzuno. He's going to do something good for Kuzuno. And that's why he keeps saying, I love you, but also saying, I will have to kill you, because that's the world view that he has come from. And that cognitive dissonance between not just doing what he would normally do in his old life, but struggling to try to find a way to figure out how to do something good is causing him to break. And which is why he screams when he goes into the acting place and really makes poor decisions throughout, because he wants to be good, but he doesn't have a clue how.
I wonder if this would have benefited from a straight binge like we've talked about before.
Maybe. Yeah.
Because it could be that I do remember in past seasons, they've made Kusuno a buffoon, a goofball, somebody beneath contempt, and they certainly have reinforced the fact that he is not liked in Hollywood or whatever. But I have enough distance from that I'm not really feeling that. So as a result, it doesn't feel like, in a weird way, Barry's doing him a favor. But I think I could have been talked into that if I was watching everything straight through.
And also, I don't think it's supposed to be a realistic favor as much as in Barry's mind. In Barry's mind, hey, I can prove I'm a human being by not killing this guy. And if I do something he wants, then he'll be grateful to me. He wants, and you know, I don't think that's big a jump to know, like, yeah, he'd like to get his acting career back on target. He obviously can't teach because the acting studio is being shut down. So let me do that. At least that's where I went with it.
I think what I would love very much is to believe that Gene Cousineau actually didn't love. Like, I think they did a good enough job of making me believe that he loved what's her name. That everything he's doing now is all BS in acting. I would love it if they hadn't done that, and instead, like, he was that shallow that he wants to get back into Hollywood's arms. In which case,
I believe both are true. I believe he loved her so much that he wants to punish Barry, but I believe also that he is so shallow that the idea of getting back into acting is very compelling. He just doesn't believe Barry will do it, so he's not worried about that having a consequence until Barry gets him the thing. And now he will have his own. Cousineau will have his own cognitive dissonance to deal with.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I find myself drifting away from Cristobal and NoHo Hank. Like, there's not much to keep me tethered to their conflict or relationship or anything.
Oh, why is that? I kind of adored that.
I'm just, I'm more interested in like, Barry, get your act together. That's what I want to hear.
Well, and that is the main plot line there. Stinging Indictment of Hollywood, Barry, season 3, episode 2.
Yes.
And that is it for Spoilerin Time. Thanks everybody for joining us. Next week, it's the end of an era in Spoilerin Time. At least this very short era where we're doing Picard, Moon Knight, Better Call Saul, and Barry, because we will get the season finale of Picard, we will get the season finale of Moon Knight, We will talk about Better Call Saul episode 4 of season 6 and Barry season 3 episode 3. If you want a little peek into the future, coming up 2 weeks from now, Hacks is coming back on HBO Max, and we'll be talking about that in a couple weeks. Until then, spoil yourselves. You deserve it. We'll talk to you next time.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.